Good evening, everybody. I'd like to call to order the Spokane City Council meeting for June 28th legislative session. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Council President Biggs.
Present.
Councilmember Cathcart.
Present.
Councilmember Kinnear.
Present.
Councilmember Stratton.
Here.
Councilmember Wilkerson.
Present.
Let the record reflect that Council Members Burke and Mumm are absent.
And both of them are excused. We're going to start with a quick vote on boards and commissions. And then we'll go into a bit of a council update and then go to our legislative agenda.
Appointment of Brennan Schreibman to a 3-year term on the Spokane Human Rights Commission to serve from June 30, 2021 through December 31, 2024, and Abigail Baker to serve a 1-year term from June 30, 2021 through June 29, 2022. And appointment of Tim O'Doherty to serve a 3-year term on the Parking Advisory Committee from July 1, 2021 to June 30, 2024.
All those in favor of confirming these appointments, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, nay? Any abstentions? All right, they are all confirmed. Thank you for your service. And again, if you're interested in serving on a board or commission, we could really use your input and lived experience. You can go to our website, the Spokane City website, and punch in boards and commissions, and it'll list all of them, including current vacancies and upcoming vacancies. The mayor's office, for just about all of them, is the one that interviews and appoints, and then council confirms. So thanks for that. I wanted to talk about two things. One, obviously everybody knows that it is about the hottest that it's ever been since we've recorded weather in the city of Spokane today. And tomorrow and the next day it will be the hottest ever. And the city is working hard to provide some short-term cooling centers in Riverfront Park and at our libraries during the day. Various churches and other places are starting to provide some relief. I think we'll look back and see we could have done more, but for now, I just want to encourage anyone who has air conditioning in their house or a building and can invite other people who are desperately in need of it that they know and they feel comfortable with. It really is becoming a life and death matter, I'm afraid, in certain circumstances. So I just urge you, just me, Brian Beggs, to consider that, especially people you know in your neighborhood who don't have air conditioning, because probably only about half the city does. So I wanted to share that. And secondly, I wanted to share, I had an update from Avista not very long ago on what's going on, why there's some outages, and what they're doing about it going forward. So you might know that there's a few neighborhood-wide outages. Hilliard has a pretty big outage. Neighborhoods near Spokane Falls Community College, near Government Way, Sunset Hill, and more recently, Eagle Ridge. And Avista's understanding of what's going on is that individual transformers in individual neighborhoods are just getting too hot. Now, part of it, there's this baseline external heat from the sun, but also in certain neighborhoods, they're using more power now through those transformers than they ever have before. And the combination gets to a certain heat threshold, and the transformer turns itself off, just like a circuit breaker might in your own home. And when that happens, because the potential for danger is high, Avista crews need to go out and examine and test that transformer in your neighborhood to see if it can be turned back on. And if it can be, they do that. If it needs repair or replacement, they'll order that up. Just the testing it out and checking it out takes about 2 to 4 hours from when it's reported to when that happens. And if it needs repair, it will take another 12 to 24 hours. So again, we have unprecedented power drainage and exterior heat, and that's what's happening. So what Avista is working on as a plan to avoid that is they're going to start doing some rolling 1-hour brownouts in neighborhoods where they believe the transformers are at most risk for shutting themselves off. There's plenty of power in the actual power grid. That's not the issue. The vulnerability is these individual neighborhood transformers. And in Avista's judgment and based on their understanding from regulators, it's more prudent to turn something off for an hour for a neighborhood than to risk losing it from 2 to 24 hours. They are going to send out alerts to those neighborhoods. So there'll be some warning. They know where there are hospitals and cooling centers. They're doing their best. But even in those situations, if they fear the transformer is going to overheat and then go out for a day, they're still considering 1 hour brownouts. So we've posted on our Facebook webpage at Avista that you can go to, but I just wanted to get that word out so that people understand what's going on. So with that, I'm going to turn to our legislative agenda. Ms. Pfister.
Special Ordinance C-36068, amending Ordinance Number C-35971, passed by the City Council December 14, 2020, and entitled an ordinance adopting the annual budget of the City of Spokane for 2021, making appropriations to the various funds of the City of Spokane government for the fiscal year ending December 31, 2021, and providing it shall take effect immediately upon passage, and declaring an emergency, and that in the budget of the Emergency Rental Assistance Grant Fund and the budget annexed thereto with reference to the Emergency Rental Assistance Grant Fund, the following changes be made. Number 1, increase appropriation by $9,261,862. A, of the increased appropriation, $9,040,862 is provided solely for subrecipients awarded through an RFP process to deliver rent assistance funds to the community. B, of the increased appropriation, $221,000 is provided solely for the city's administration of the rent assistance program. This action budgets for the prevention of evictions by paying past due and future rent and past due utilities while targeting limited resources to those with the greatest needs and distributing funds equitably.
All right, thank you, Ms. Pfister. And this $9 million essentially that's going for direct rental assistance is in addition to the $6 million that were put under contract on June 1st. And that money, like this money, most of it went to a company called Live Stories that has an online ability to accept applications from landlords or tenants for rental assistance, and then Family Promise, and then the Carl Maxey Center. So we had $6 million that's in the process of being distributed on the 1st of June from federal money, rental assistance. And then this is an additional $9 million. And earlier today at our consent agenda, we approved $6.5 million of that going to Live Stories and $2.5 million essentially going to Family Promise to do more. So that money will soon be adding that $9 million to the $6 million. There are other programs out there. There are certainly programs in the county that are ongoing as well. And my understanding from the administration is those recipients who are going to distribute it in the amounts were determined by a competitive RFP process. So that's what this is, and it's, long overdue that we can get this out to people and give landlords and tenants relief, especially as the governor's orders on rent and tenancy are changing. We have one person signed up from the general public to testify, and that's Nicolette Ochiltree. And Nicolette, if you'd like to punch in *3 so I can recognize you. All right, we see that you're in. Go ahead and introduce yourself. You have up to 3 minutes to testify about this.
Good evening, Council. It's Nicolette Ochiltree here. I am grateful for these funds and look forward to seeing more data on the distribution of these funds during the study session on Thursday. One concerning thing I've heard from folks who have reached out to me is that they were denied because they paid their rent. So, for example, even though they have certainly met the income threshold required to be qualified for assistance, they were denied help with paying any future months of rent because instead of letting their past month's rent go unpaid, they took out loans and pawned the computer their kid was using for school. One person who didn't want to be named took out a loan from one of those small loan check cashing places because she didn't want to leave her rent unpaid as she waited to hear back from the organization processing her rental assistance request. Her landlord is a single mother who is also struggling financially. The tenant thought she was doing the right thing by doing whatever she could to just go ahead and make that payment. When she was contacted and interviewed about her rental assistance application, they said they couldn't help her because she didn't have unpaid rent. It seems that if she had wanted to qualify, she should have just not paid her rent, which of course would have caused her landlord to suffer. It seems to me that requiring a tenant to have unpaid rent is an unusual qualification to have for rental assistance, especially in the future. Folks may have been able to pay the rent by taking out loans or by selling or pawning their personal property, but that doesn't mean that they don't need help covering future rent. And by requiring unpaid rent to qualify for assistance, there's a real sense in which those who did everything within their power to make sure their payment was made are punished by their otherwise responsible behavior. In a scenario under which two people with the same income level apply for assistance, where one chooses not to pay their rent as they awaited assistance and the other took out a payday loan, the one who took out the payday loan will be denied, and the one who just refused to pay their rent will be approved. And yet, in this scenario, the person who took out the payday loan actually owes more than the person who didn't. I understand that this is a relatively uncharted territory, but we have to make sure that the qualifications for assistance don't punish honest, hardworking people who are trying their best to make do with what they have and not burden anyone else in the process. By these standards, one can also imagine a scenario in which someone with a higher income level is approved because they have unpaid rent, but someone with a lower income level is denied because they paid their rent. Arguably, the person with a lower income is more rent burdened and in need of assistance, and yet would be disqualified because they did not have past unpaid rent. There has to be more nuance to these assistance efforts, since these are truly complicated problems during a truly complicated time.
Thank you, Nicolette. And that is, you described a challenging situation, and I don't
We can't hear you, Council President.
Sorry. Thank you, Councilmember Cathcart. Yeah, I just wanted to thank you, Nicolette, for bringing that situation to our attention. I'm not sure that the city has any power to adjust that eligibility, but it's a scenario I certainly had not considered, so thank you. Yes, Councilmember Cathcart.
Yeah, not necessarily tonight. I wonder if we could get some technical input from Cupid or somebody else in that department regarding that concern.
Yep, great point. Councilmember Stratton.
I was just going to say, Nicolette wants to that individual contact me. I'm willing to see what we can do, and really, two really good folks in the city that has helped me through some rental issues with constituents. So, Nicolette, if you're still listening, if she wants to contact me, let's see what we can do. It might be that we can look at that payday loan and see what we can do with it.
Thanks.
That's a new one for me that I haven't heard this one before.
Yep. All right. Any council commentary on the merits of the special budget ordinance that will essentially provide money for the contracts that we approved earlier this afternoon? Councilmember Kinnear.
Just a comment on, if you mute yourself, we won't hear an echo.
Ms. Allers is helping me out on that. Thanks. All right. Any other comments? If not, we'll take a roll call. Councilmember Stratton.
Aye.
Councilmember Kinnear.
Aye.
Council President Sinai. Councilmember Cathcart.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilkerson.
Aye.
All right, that passes 5-0, which was required for an emergency budget ordinance or special budget ordinance. Thank you. We could go to regular resolutions and final reading ordinances.
Resolution 2021-53, recognizing that the City of Spokane needs to create a comprehensive strategy to address housing and homelessness in Spokane and outlining priority actions in the attached addendum that serve as a foundation for that work. Addendum is on file in the City Clerk's office.
And we did vote to substitute a little bit of additional language, but I'd like to turn it over to Councilmember Kinnear, who's the sponsor.
Thank you. Uh-oh, there's that echo. There we go. Thanks. So this is a cumulative effort by our former NHHS director, Cupid Alexander, me, Jacoby, and council members. So all of you gave excellent input and made edits and changes so that we have what's before us tonight. This resolution has 13 different items that can be addressed by the administration. If passed by the council, the administration has assurance that these items will have council support. Initially, I was hesitant to propose this resolution because there seems to be community-wide confusion about who is responsible for implementing strategies to address housing and homelessness. However, prior to this, there was not a strategy or a comprehensive way forward that could get us to a place that would actually give us a long-term solution or long-term solutions. I'm hoping that the mayor will identify which items from this list she wishes to prioritize and then comes back to us with an implementation plan and a funding and a resource request. Now, I did have some conversations with her about this. She said she's supportive. She didn't say if she was supportive of all of it or which ones. I was left with the impression that she was supportive of most of it. And I can't give you any more information other than that. I think this is a way that we can demonstrate that we're very committed to a strategy, that we want a long-term solution and not the Band-Aid approach that we've been doing for the last 6 years that I've been on council. So I look forward to the debate by council, although all of you've made changes that are embedded in this, this version. And I'm hopeful that it will pass and that we can move forward. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Councilmember Kinnear, for shepherding this forward. We do have one member of the public who's requested to testify, and that's Nicolette Ochiltree. Nicolette, if you'd like to hit *3. All right, Nicolette, go ahead and introduce yourself. You have up to 3 minutes.
There are a lot of really excellent recommendations on this list, and I hope that many, if not all of them, come to fruition. I acknowledge the fact that Councilwoman Kinnear and others put a lot of hard work into developing this list, but it's rather troubling that this list had to be made in the first place. In many ways, it shows the deficiencies in the city's current efforts in addressing the housing crisis and services for those experiencing homelessness. Perhaps if CHHS and NHHS were fully staffed and hadn't experienced a mass exodus recently, Councilwoman Kinnear would not have had to draft this list. I agree that everyone needs to get on the same page with data especially, and I agree that there needs to be a more collaborative approach. But I also feel like we've all been saying this for years now. So what's standing in the way? Is it the mayor's failure to direct staff? Is it the administration's failure to allow talented staff to do their jobs? I think the answer is yes, and I hope that along with this list of recommendations, that council continues to call a spade and directly addresses those barriers and roadblocks within this administration. What good will these recommendations actually do if the mayor and her administration continue to stonewall those who are actually trying to work towards a better functioning system? I don't want to see your efforts made in vain, and I don't want to see the housing crisis get worse. And again, I'm very grateful for everyone involved in making this list, and I hope that we all as a community continue to put pressure on the administration to prioritize things that are found on this list so that we can actually find a path moving forward to solve these problems. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Nicolette. And any council commentary? Councilmember Cathcart.
Yeah, thank you. Just really quickly, I think there's several buckets of areas that we have to work on and look at to start addressing the housing crisis. And this is one of those, I think, particularly on the data collection side. And there's some really good stuff that's in here that I definitely support and would like to see implementation occur going forward. But it's still just one bucket. I think there's some others that definitely have to be addressed, and I think there will be some other items. So I'll be supporting tonight.
You were cutting out. Do you mind just going over that one more time, because I think it was important?
Sure. Is this better? Can you hear me better? Okay. So what I was saying is I think there's a few different buckets, areas that we really need to focus on with regard to the housing crisis, and this is one of them. And in particular, on the data collection side, I think that there's some really good stuff that's in here that needs to happen, needs to get implemented as soon as possible. But it's still one of the buckets. And so I'm just putting out there that hopefully there will be some other ideas and opportunities that will come forward soon to address some of the other issues that need to be addressed within the housing crisis as well. So,
Councilmember Wilkerson.
Thank you. And thank you, Councilmember Cathcart, for that. But Councilmember Kinnear, thank you for just putting in writing a resolution. You know, it's not an order, it's a resolution of a pathway forward that we could get some alignment on and start. I kind of feel like we've been a dog chasing its tail. No offense to the dog, but that's kind of what we've been doing. So we need to start somewhere, and this lets the administration know this is where we can lean in and support going forward for the betterment of our citizens, because as long as we stall or we're inactive or not proactive, the citizens continue to suffer in our city, along with our growth is stymied also. So I'll be in support of this also.
Any other council comments? Yeah, I wanted to support Councilmember Cathcart's call for more data. I just feel like we don't even know what we don't know. We know that our CHHS department does an analysis of the data that they have through their HMIS system every quarter that focuses on how many people truly need homeless services. Our point in time count that we do once a year shows how many people are sleeping in beds that we provide in shelters, and that's pretty much depends on how many shelter beds we provide. That's how many beds are used by those. This year, we weren't able to go out and check people who are sleeping in camps and cars and things like that. So we didn't do that, but we do know that information on a quarterly basis, pretty good estimate of it. And for some reason, Council has not been shared that information for over a year since the 2020 point in time count. And I continue to ask for it because until we know how many people need shelter and what their demographics are and what they identify as the reasons why they're not in a shelter, either the shelter was full or doesn't fit their needs, or they have a PTSD problem, means they can't sleep too close to people. I don't know. I think we have that data, and I believe we need to get that data, and so I'm supportive of this. I also just wanted to commend Councilmember Kinnear. She went straight to the current expert in the administration, Cupid Alexander, on these issues and got his best thinking before he announced his resignation, and so that we know what works, what's needed. So we didn't make this up. We got it from the administration. But what I found out in the last few weeks is that we are down 6 employees in CHHS, 6 vacant employees. And we kind of knew about 2. Councilmember Stratton to 7. So we kind of knew about 2, but it's a lot more than that. And so we really need to hire those people. And really across the city, there's a lot of vacancies. We really need to hire those people to do the work. I believe City Council continues to assure the administration and the population that we will invest the money needed to provide the services needed, especially if we can show that they're the type of services that are successful in saving lives and helping people move forward in that quest. So I'm strongly supportive of this, setting out the policy. I look forward to the mayor and her team coming back to us and telling us this is how they're going to implement it and these are the funds they need to do it, and hiring a full staff to do it. It seems to be one of a handful of key concerns for the community that they expect us to solve. City Council, I think, is doing its part and stands ready to fund what needs to be funded. So I'm going to be supporting it as well. And with that, we'll have a formal roll call. Councilmember Stratton.
Aye.
Councilmember Kinnear.
Aye.
Council President Sinai. Councilmember Cathcart.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilkerson. I know, Councilmember Wilkerson, did you hear me? I didn't get your vote.
Aye.
Okay, great. All right, that passes 5-0. Resolution 54, we deferred to July 12th at the request of the Planning Department so that we can have a little more collaboration on that. Ordinance 65 is going to be part of a hearing. So that brings us to first reading ordinances, and we added one on today's afternoon agenda.
Ordinance C 36069 regarding charter amendment adopting the Spokane Cleaner Energy Protection Act.
And some of you may know that a group of community members submitted signatures for citizen initiative, and those are being counted. But in order to meet the calendar deadlines, we're putting this on first reading for tonight. And we'll be back then July 12th, second reading. And by then we'll know if they collected enough valid signatures. The county auditor takes care of the validation. All right, that brings us to our hearing.
H1, final reading ordinance C 36065, modifying the functions and transportation improvements of the Transportation Benefit District and codifying the Citizens Transportation Advisory Board, adopting a new chapter 4.37 and amending sections 8.16.010, 8.16.040, 8.16.060, and 8.16.070 of the Spokane Municipal Code.
And again, we substituted the online version with some very minor language issues earlier today. But I've asked City Council staff person, Shauna Harshman, who's our manager of transportation and connectivity issues, to give us all, including council members, but especially the community, an overview of what these changes will mean for us going forward. So Shauna, thanks for your work on this, and take it away.
Thank you very much, Council President. I'm going to share my screen and then briefly go over these changes with you. All right, is that coming through nicely for you? Wonderful, thank you. Well, tonight we're going to go over several of the updates to the Transportation Benefit District Code and Spokane Municipal Code. And those changes had several different components to them. So the first thing that we wanted to address was that the Spokane Municipal Code stated that projects and programs set forth in the 6-year comprehensive street program are the projects that can come forward for funding into the Transportation Benefit District. Okay. And so we realized last year that the 6-year pavement maintenance program had been pulled from that street program. So that really created a broken link between the types of projects that the TBD can fund and what was set out in the municipal code. So the update tonight will help remedy that broken link. So we're doing that by essentially removing the dates from the code and instead referencing the most recently adopted versions of the plans that we refer to select projects for the Transportation Benefit District funding. The third piece that we really wanted to address with these changes was the need to update our municipal code fairly frequently to address the fact that we called out dates in our municipal code. So in short, what we were looking at is in code, we had identified a specific 6-year street plan. So for example, the 2017 to 2023 plan. And while we all may realize that those plans are updated annually to bring in additional projects, especially in those further out years, our code really limited us for that entire 6-year period to those projects identified in that first year of the plan. And so by referring to the most recently adopted versions of these plans, we get out of that sticking point that we had. The next goal that we were trying to accomplish with these updates was to use a performance-based outcome to let us know when the Transportation Benefit District has really addressed the problems of residential street maintenance. And we did not have that performance outcome identified in our previous code. So we have proposed a performance outcome for the dissolution of the Transportation Benefit District once the city has been able to obtain an average system-wide pavement condition rating of 80, where we have no streets failing at a pavement condition index of lower than 25. And this isn't a short-term goal, but by establishing this goal, we'll be able to annually report out on our progress to meeting this goal and work more diligently towards that goal. The fourth issue we ran into is just that in having to update our Transportation Benefit District ordinances so frequently, we had some conflicting information on the term length of our members. And so we wanted to get those all straightened out as well. And this ordinance does that. In terms of changes to the duties and functions in the Citizens Transportation Advisory Board, we really have a strong focus on increasing the diversity of perspectives of members of this board. And so what we're really wanting to do is increase the number of district representatives from 1 currently to 2 from each of those districts, as well as expanding the perspectives on the board by looking to have a new member from the Human Rights Commission, as well as having several non-voting members that include the potential for the school district to weigh in, and the health district, and representatives from the disability rights community, so that we can really look at our residential street maintenance from a diverse perspective to get good outcomes. And then the last piece of that was to just further clarify the duties and functions of the Citizens Transportation Advisory Board. So I just talked about this a moment ago, but I just wanted to show you the language that we are looking at for that performance-based outcome to know when the Transportation Benefit District has met its goals for residential maintenance. One of the things that we're very mindful of is that we don't want this to be an ongoing, never-ending task, essentially, but we want to have an end goal and an ability to know when we've reached that goal, and that the Transportation Benefit District would no longer be necessary at that point. This violates all of the rules that I like to follow around creating a good PowerPoint presentation. But just 2 things to highlight for you out of this slide, which is I wanted to just make note of the fact that we're not actually proposing with this ordinance update to change the selection methodology for the representatives from each of the council districts. There will be the same application process. We're really just spelling out more clearly that of those applicants who apply, that each council member will have the ability to select their top candidate from their district. And then the second thing is something that I just talked about previously, but it shows the addition of those liaison members and leaves open the possibility of identifying other perspectives that may be important on the board. So schools, the health district, and the disability community are important, but we've left open the opportunity to bring in other voices as well. The other section of the ordinance update that we are tackling with these revisions is also to give clarity to this understanding that the Citizens Transportation Advisory Board really gives recommendations on two distinct funding streams. The Transportation Benefit District funding stream, which is revenue from a $20 car tab, and then an additional funding stream that is for residential street maintenance out of the street department budget. And so that often causes confusion about which projects are able to be funded under each funding stream. And so we've provided some clarity in these updates. And then the last piece is just small clarification on what is entailed in the annual reporting functions of the Citizens Transportation Advisory Board. And I wanted to keep it brief for you all. I know you have a busy agenda, and so thank you for this, and open for any questions or comments.
Councilmember Kinnear.
Shauna, that was great. You always make it very concise and understandable. So my question is, we've had some emails from some of the community assembly folks, PET committee, and can you address that a little bit? Because you weighed in. They seem to have a concern that they're not being included. Can you address that?
Absolutely. I think there are a couple of things here. I just, as the meeting was getting started, sent out a summary of our engagement approach for this ordinance update. And we did do workshops with both the Citizens Transportation Advisory Board and the specific PET committee of the Community Assembly. So on that level, we workshopped these ideas with both of those bodies. But Lori, to be honest, I think there is another important component that came up out of those comments, which is that we are also seeking additional opportunities for neighborhoods and community engagement into the work of the Transportation Benefit District. And the approach that we're taking with that is in updating the policies and procedures to better define the relationship of the Citizens Transportation Advisory Board to the PET committee or to the Community Assembly, and even to the community at large, as well as working on updating the public engagement plan for the Transportation Benefit District. And so we're looking at a couple of different ways to continue to improve community voice and community input into this work. Really, the expansion of the board to include more diverse perspectives and additional members on the board is just a first step in an ongoing process. And so I was just balancing the desire to balance what we actually codify and then what might be more, better situated in policies and procedures of the committee itself.
There's no community testimony on it, but any other questions of council members might have of Shauna? Councilmember Stratton.
So when everything is said and done, what is the total number of people on this committee that will be on this committee?
Good question, Karen. So when this is all said and done, we will have 11 voting members and up to 5 additional liaison members from those different perspectives, open to a couple of additional, agency representatives beyond schools, health districts, and the disability community.
Thanks.
Other questions or council commentary? So I just had a few comments. One, I really want to thank you, Shauna, for putting this together, we were trying to solve multiple issues, as you heard. One was just code cleanup. There was a lot of contradictory information that caused some problems for the current representatives. Second is we really want this situation to take into more projects. I think over the last year and a half, Council has gone the direction that we want the community more engaged in how do we prioritize which roads we rebuild, what road maintenance we do. And so one of the ways to do that was to increase the scope of work of this group, which was fairly narrowly tailored to the Transportation Benefit District funds, the car tab fees for residential things. And the Streets Department has been using the Citizens Transportation folks for a while as a sounding board. And we basically said that worked really well. Let's formalize that. And then the final thing that we wanted to do was we really wanted to get the community more involved. My experience, not that I went to all the meetings or knew everything, but my experience is that the people who are representing on the CTAB tended to kind of do that work and work with the Streets Department, and they weren't as involved in community engagement. They viewed themselves, I mean, I don't want to speak for how they viewed themselves, but how it seemed to be is that they saw themselves as representative people with some subject matter expertise and connections in the community, but they didn't see their job as going out into the community and inviting that community into the process. And so we wanted to change that, which I think the Community Assembly is really going to appreciate. And we did it in two ways in the code. One was we more than doubled the membership of voters, so there's just a better chance that people from each district will do it. And then we added these liaisons to really do that. And then the final piece is going to be once they are situated and up and running, Shauna, as their staff person, which they didn't have that capacity before, is going to help them develop their community engagement priorities and methodology so that they really will involve the PET committee, individual neighborhoods, the community assembly, these other groups that bring expertise to it. So really, by the time we get to 2022, you're going to see way more community engagement and opportunity in road maintenance and road building and priorities, and we should have a really robust process that works there. But tonight is passing the ordinance. Then Shauna will work with these new people that we get appointed to get that community engagement, and I think it's going to be fabulous. So I'm super excited. This is a big milestone for us as a council, and also just calling back to having additional staff capacity with expertise in this area. So with that, let's go to a vote. Councilmember Stratton.
Aye. And thanks for your hard work, Shauna.
Yeah. Councilmember Kinnear.
Ditto, Shauna. Thank you. I'm an aye.
Council President's an aye. Councilmember Cathcart.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilkerson.
Aye.
All right. Well, there's nothing better than a unanimous vote, Ms. Harshman. So congratulations, and thanks everyone for all the input and including all the hard questions. That is what we want, so that we can address them. So thanks everyone for that. That brings us to the end of legislative items, but we do have two people signed up for open forum, and I'm going to call again on Nicolette Ochiltree to hit *3. All right, Nicolette. Go ahead and introduce yourself one more time tonight. You have up to 3 minutes. Thank you.
Hello again, Council. It's Nicolette Ochiltree here. I have had a difficult day today. My grandparents, who are in their 80s, and my uncle, who is a disabled vet, had their power go out, just like thousands of other citizens in Spokane. I worried that our power might go out as well, so I scrambled to find hotel accommodations for them in hopes that the hotels at least had generators in case their power also went out. It was a struggle. Many hotels were sold out. Eventually, we did find a hotel with a backup generator in case of power failure, and I can rest easy tonight knowing that they won't be in danger of heat-related illnesses or death. I'm disappointed that the only thing I heard from the mayor so far was that cooling centers will be open an hour longer. It's hard for me to believe that this is the best that we can do. The next few days are going to be even hotter, and something more needs to be done, especially for the elderly and the disabled who can't sweat out the brownouts like some of us who are younger might be able to do. Since at one point over 8,000 people were without power, the alleged 1,000 spots in cooling centers are clearly insufficient for addressing this need. I don't know if there's an easy answer, but there must be something more than a 1-hour extension of cooling center hours that we can do in order to help during this heat wave emergency. Also, I'm sure you've been made aware, but the police have removed several bins of free water that were left in the park by many community members who were just trying to do whatever they could to help folks who are stuck in the heat. And in my last few seconds, I just wanted to say how impressed I was with the Parks Department this weekend. I threw my nephew a birthday party at Friendship Park on Saturday, and we showed up very early in the morning to set up. And I had the chance to witness how hard the Parks Department works to empty the trash, clean the bathrooms, and pick up other strewn about park trash before many families started to arrive. And many, many families there were. They picked up a lot of trash very quickly. They had a fantastic attitude, and the park looked wonderful. And it was such a great day, and it was a really amazing glimpse into how hard they work to make sure that our parks are clean and healthy for people. So thank you for that, and thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Nicolette. And by way of just a little of information, not comment on your comment, I appreciate your comments, but I did see online that Catholic Charities has 4 locations of cooling centers specifically for the elderly that might need them. And so I would look on their webpage for those people who might need that help. Next, we have Anwar Peace. If you're there, Anwar, if you want to hit *3. All right, Anwar, welcome to City Council this evening. Go ahead and introduce yourself, and you have up to 3 minutes. Not hearing you yet.
Good evening, Council.
Thanks.
Recently, police leaders in Spokane have released videos to the public that have disputed the mathematical formulation that was used to create the mapping police violence database that ranks us as the 3rd deadliest police force. So let me get into some of those numbers that police leaders failed to mention to the public for some reason. Nationally, police have killed 482 people this year. As of Friday, since the Derek Chauvin trial began, police have killed 291 people. Up until 2015, the FBI didn't even track officer-involved shootings. Before that, in 2014, the Washington Post created what is called the Counted, which is a police shootings database. The Counted compiled 2 years of data. It recorded 2,239 police-related deaths during that period. 95% of those killed were male, 90% were killed with gunshots. The remainder either died in custody as a result of taser usage or after being struck by a vehicle. The age group most likely to be killed was 25-34. The overwhelming majority of deceased were men killed by gunshot. Of the 2,239 dead, 1,153 were white, 573 were black, 378 were Hispanic, 45 were Asian or Pacific Islander, 37 were Native American, 48 were unknown. When compared to population growth, most likely to be killed by police were blacks, followed by Native Americans, Hispanics, whites, and then Asian and Pacific Islanders. The other shocking national data shows that 1,200 human souls have died in our country each year at the hands of police annually. This equates to approximately 3 citizens per day who are killed by police in the U.S. In Spokane, we too have shocking data that was recently released that has shed some light on whether or not the Spokane Police Department practices unconstitutional racial profiling or use of force on our streets. The Mapping Police Violence Database, ranking us as the 3rd deadliest in the nation, we as a community should honor those 19 humans in our community who have lost their souls due to police violence since 2013. Those 19 souls were somebody's son, brother, and father. Those 19 impacted families miss their loved ones. But most of all, they want the police department to lower its ranking by engaging in true dialogues and discussions on the topic of all that all of the community should be a part of, including those impacted families as well. The roundtable discussions must continue. It's atrocious that it's been well over a month that the roundtable has not taken place, and those impacted family members need to be at the next meeting. Thank you for your time, and have a good night.
Thank you so much, Mr. Peace, and for sticking to the 3 minutes. All right, that is all we have tonight. I do want to just extend a thanks.
We can't hear you.
Thanks, Mr. Peace, and especially for keeping within your time and watching that. I appreciate that. That is all we have for tonight. I wanted to extend thanks to council staff and my fellow council members for pitching in for me while I was gone for the last couple of meetings. Super happy to be back and looking forward to all that we will do together. As I often say, please take care of yourself, and if you can, take care of somebody else. We are adjourned.